Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. As always, I am your host, Stuart Cranes. We have another amazing guest for you this week. Before I go ahead and introduce her, though, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please hit that little bell icon wherever you are catching your podcast. I know I'm a broken record, but we are going to be going to 2 episodes a week later this year. And I want to be sure that you don't miss any of the amazing guests or messages that we have planned for you. So, without further ado, I want to dive right into it today. This guest is somebody that I consider a friend. She is an expert in breath work. She is a Wim Hof practitioner. So, she has actually gone through the Wim Hof Method and certification program. So, she is somebody that is bringing breath work and healing to people all over the globe. And quite honestly, she has one of the most amazing set of life experiences I think I've ever encountered. So without further ado, I want to welcome my friend Jenny Quenard on the show today. Jenny, how are you today?
What an introduction. Thank you, Stu. Thanks for that. I'm well. I'm super excited for this. I'm so happy to see you again, even if virtually. It's been a minute
Yeah,
since meeting in what
19, I think.
2019. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, it's crazy how time flies.
Indeed.
And, with the advances of technology and, the pandemic normalizing Zoom, we're able to do this interview. I mean, you're in Switzerland as we are recording this, and I'm here in the States. But Jenny, I want to dive right in. I know that you have had a bit of a winding journey to becoming the breathwork practitioner and master that you are. I would love for you to share a bit with the audience just what breath work is, specifically Wim Hof, and just kind of give them a taste for what this is in case they haven't heard of it before.
Yeah. So the Wim Hof method is essentially a wellness tool to
Mhm.
make you happy, strong, and healthy, all in a natural way. And it uses three main elements. We call them pillars. And breath work is the first one, but it's only one of three. So there is conscious breathing, there is progressive cold exposure. So you might be familiar with ice baths. And then the
Mhm.
third is mindset and commitment. And that is arguably the most subtle and the most profound and the most challenging of all three pillars. And through the breath work, through the cold exposure, we are basically learning our body how to self-regulate, so regulating our nervous system, improving our response to stress and anxiety, enhancing your sleep, strengthening your immune system, training your cardiovascular system, among many, many other benefits. So it's really a great tool again to just be happy, strong, and healthy, even if you are perhaps already strong, happy, and healthy. And also for people who have certain diseases like autoimmune diseases, even some people who have different types of cancers, it's also an incredible tool for healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you so much. I know that the audience is going to be really interested in this conversation today. So let's just dive a little bit further. I know who Wim Hof is. He is the inventor of this method. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have heard of him as well. Could you tell a little bit more about specifically how this methodology has impacted your life and maybe give some examples for folks?
Yeah, definitely. So to give a bit more context into my upbringing, because that's pretty deeply tied into how I kind of discovered the Wim Hof method in the first place. I grew up as a tennis player and a semi-professional athlete, and I was born and raised in Switzerland. And at the age of 14, I moved to Florida in the US to train full-time in a tennis academy.
Wow.
That was supposed to be a 1-year sabbatical adventure, and it turned into 10 years living in the US between the ages of 14 and 24. So obviously growing up as an athlete, anything around personal development, training my mindset, being the best version of myself, being the healthiest version of myself. Those were all topics that really interested me. Back when I entered college, in 2014, I was literally listening to podcasts around those themes every single day, including Lewis House's School of Greatness podcast. And then in 2018, I landed at my first Summit of Greatness in Columbus, Ohio, exactly where Stu and I met. Only it was in 2019 that we met, but yeah, 2018 was the first time I went there. I actually went with my brother, who is also a tennis player and whom you know as well. And there was where we could, every morning, there are different workshops that we can attend. And there was this thing called Wim Hof Method breathwork. And my brother was like, oh, we should go to this morning. And I was like, what the heck is Wim Hof? Like, what the heck is breath work? Even as an athlete, we were not taught anything about the breath, which is such a shame and also a huge opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so we walk into this room. There's about, I would say, 30 people there. We're all about to lie down, and this woman, Trisha Smith, who was one of the very first Wim Hof Method instructors that got certified and learned with Wim. She was there explaining a little bit about the method, and then we dove right into the breath work. There was no ice bath on that day, but the breath work itself was powerful enough to get me started on that path. And basically what happened for me was I had felt things in my body that I had never experienced before. And once we were done, I literally felt like I had 5 espresso shots. I had this boost of energy and focus that I had honestly never felt in my life before. And it went, and then it stayed consistent throughout the entire day. There was no crash. And I had this level of mental clarity, once again, that I had never felt before. It was wild. And, there's hundreds of people there. You're getting a lot of information. You're meeting tons of people who are super aligned. Like I was just fresh out of college. I was 22. And I was just like a sponge, like, oh my God, like, and it was this, feeling of, it was just a superpower feeling. Mm-hmm. And immediately I realized, holy shit, this method is so powerful, but much beyond that, I can access this anytime simply through my breath, which is mine. That feeling was just like, holy shit, like what a powerful realization. And then my brother, who was breathing right next to me on my right side, he had a very, very powerful experience as well, although quite different than mine. He actually was crying and bawling the entire time. And that was also really, really powerful. And all this to say, like, with this method and the breath work, so many things can happen and it's all okay. And I think for my brother in particular, he just needed to have this release and integration in that very moment without needing to pinpoint why. It was just, that's just what happened. And that's also the beauty of this method, that it really works subconsciously as well. And you've got these releases and integrations of different emotions that are so often suppressed, whether it's anger or sadness, shame, and we get to, through the breath and through the cold, actually go towards the discomfort and help our bodies integrate all of it, and help soothe our nervous system in such a beautiful and natural way. So that's kind of the backstory there. And that was that was in 2018, and it wasn't until last year that I became an actual certified instructor. So there's been a huge progression and journey there for me to deepen my practice. But I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah. No, but thank you so much for sharing all that, Jenny. And I just want to continue to drill down, because I'm sure some of the folks listening to this are like hearing about this for the first time, and it sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo or hocus pocus or whatever you want to call it. So on a bit more of a scientific level, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's about introducing oxygen into your body, like bringing in oxygen, flooding your bloodstream, getting it going through your body so that it actually awakens parts of you that maybe aren't firing as often as it could be.
Ish. Actually, our bodies are already, just through our natural breathing patterns, we are already around 95% oxygen, blood oxygen saturation. So with the breath work, you might reach 96, 97, 98, 90, 99. But it's not that big of a difference, right? It's actually what we are doing through the Wim Hof Method breathwork is actually getting rid of a lot of CO2. And that is what makes partly our blood quite acidic. So during the Wim Hof Method breathwork, we are actually helping to detoxify our body by letting out a lot of CO2. Also, just to maybe explain the protocol to any listeners who are just not familiar with this at all, you're basically doing these quite fast and deep breaths, about 35 to 40 deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth in a cyclical way, no pause between the inhale and the exhale. And then you, on the last one, you empty your lungs, and we actually pause. You stop breathing, and we enter what we call the retention phase. So we actually go into apnea and completely stop breathing for some moments, and this can vary. For instance, in my workshops, it really varies between let's say 45 to 50 seconds, and then the max I'll go is like around 2 minutes, 2 minutes and a half. It's and then as you actually deepen your practice, you can really go even past 5 minutes. It's quite wild and quite impressive how our bodies can adapt. And then after you've done the retention phase, we take what we call a recovery breath, and just inhale, pause at the top, and then pause for like 10-15 seconds, just to allow our body to get back into balance. And that's one round, and we do roughly like 3 to 4 rounds. You can do less, you can do more. That's kind of on average. So what we also do beyond alkalizing our blood, changing our pH levels, detoxifying and cleaning the body, we are also tapping into our autonomous nervous system, which is huge, because up until 2012, 2014, the scientific community was agreeing on the fact that our autonomous nervous system could not be voluntarily influenced. And then in 2012, Wim Hof actually proved that was not true, that actually we could have, through our breath and through this method, have a voluntary influence on it. And for those who don't know, our autonomous nervous system is kind of the orchestrator for all of the bodily functions that get done at an unconscious level. So your heart's beating, your digestion, your breath, all those things that have us be in, like, just to have us survive, you know. And it's split into two with the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is really that fight or flight response. It's that kind of survival mode. It's like in a car, how do you call, not the brakes, but the accelerator, right? So
Yes.
it's like the accelerator. Whereas the parasympathetic nervous system, when we tap into that, that's the time to rest, digest. That's a peaceful state, calm state, time for recovery. And instead of the accelerator, that's more of the brakes. And so with the Wim Hof Method breath work, as you're doing those quite fast and deep breaths, that first stage of the breath work, when you're doing 35 to 40 breaths, that's actually activating the sympathetic nervous system consciously. Once we actually stop breathing and go into retention mode, that's when we actually voluntarily activate our parasympathetic nervous system. So with that breath work, we are actually shifting from one to the other consciously, and that actually helps our body learn how to adapt to future stress in everyday life, whether it's big or small. And as we all know, I'm sure everybody faces tons of different stressful situations throughout the day. So that's one of the really powerful benefits of this method, and particularly of this specific breathwork protocol.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. And folks, what I want you to hear is that, like any practice, like if you're practicing yoga or any other methodology to help you find your center, this is something that you do get better at over time. It sounds like as you're saying, you can hold your breath a lot longer, you can withstand deep cold. I see you doing cold plunges on social media, Jenny, all the time. And I think the best part about all of this, guys, is you're just breathing. Like this isn't like yoga where, yes, yoga is great for your body, but there does have to be some level of physical ability. Breathing is something that we all do all the time anyway. So how awesome would it be to use it as a tool to further yourself, to up level your life? And I think what I'm hearing you say, which is what I'm most excited about, kind of help you keep that even keel during the most stressful times. And I'm wondering if there's anything that you want people to know that maybe we've missed so far.
It is so important, like way beyond the actual Wim Hof Method breathwork, just becoming aware of your everyday breathing pattern is seriously life-changing, not only because it will transform your physical state, but also your emotional state. So just to go back to this sympathetic and parasympathetic response in the body, it's really important for everyone listening to this that your breathing pattern directly influences which state you're in, whether you're in fight or flight, i.e. survival mode, or whether you're in this rest digest, i.e. calm state. So for instance, if your everyday breathing pattern is going to be up here in your chest, very shallow, very fast, like, and through the mouth, immediately you're in the sympathetic nervous system. That's typically, if when you look at babies that can't stop crying, they're like And it just keeps going. It's a vicious cycle. Same thing when you have a panic attack. And you don't even, and in those moments of survival mode, it's really challenging to actually realize, holy shit, all I get to do right now is slow down my breath and breathe with my diaphragm and even close my mouth and just breathe through my nose. Like those are small shifts that you can do in your everyday breathing that doesn't even require taking 10 minutes to do the specific Wim Hof Method breathwork protocol. So even that in itself is huge. But for me, what has been a game changer is every day committing to those 10, 15, sometimes even 20 minutes of actual Wim Hof Method breathwork has subconsciously made me more aware of my everyday breathing. Just because all of a sudden it's up in my at the top of my head, right? That's all of a sudden, oh, I'm in front of the computer and like I notice my shoulders just went up and like I'm feeling a bit of tension. Let me just see what's going on with my breathing. And this all happens within like half a second, right? And because I have this commitment towards myself and to consciously breathe, and there's so many protocols and breathing methodologies that exist out there. It doesn't have to be the Wim Hof Method breathwork. That's just one of the tools. And so just becoming aware already of your everyday breathing is already huge, and realizing that the moments that I might feel stressed, or maybe I'm not even stressed, but I'm just driving on the highway and there's this car that just like got really close to you and you're like, oh my god, like, and immediately, just if you realize that that's immediately changed your breathing pattern and that all of a sudden you're breathing here, if you keep doing that, which is what happens 99% of the time, because most of us have not been taught how to breathe
Sure.
properly, right? So what will happen is we will keep breathing with this pattern unconsciously, which will have a direct effect on our physiology. It's going to keep us in the survival mode, and we're going to be stressed like the entire day.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just like a big point that I wanted to make, because the way we breathe is directly linked to our mental and physical state.
So maybe this is a bit of a logical leap I'm making here, but I'd love your thoughts on this. I'm with you. I'm right with you. Breathing is directly tied to the physical being. I'm right with you there. Can it actually help transform your body? Like if you're looking to lose weight or become more athletically inclined, like does focusing on the breath help with physical performance as well?
With physical performance, absolutely. I'm starting to train young athletes, and specifically young tennis players, with breathing. And already when we learn how to better breathe, it means our body is also able to not only perform better, but more importantly, recover better. Same thing when we're able to use the element of cold, we can also perform better and recover better. Now, I'm not 100% sure of the link between breathing and weight loss.
Okay.
There for sure is with cold exposure, for instance, but yeah, definitely in terms of how you warm yourself up, even just in getting a cardiovascular workout before, let's say, stepping onto the court. If you're a tennis player, you're going to warm yourself up from the inside out much better than if you were just to do just a physical warm up, or no warm up at all. And you see nowadays also athletes who are mouth taping as they train. That's also something that I get athletes that I work with to do, and there's tons of benefits to that, and simulating a high altitude environment. etc., etc. But yes, the breath definitely has an impact on performance and recovery.
I love it. I love it. And folks, you don't need to be someone that runs marathons or half marathons like myself. This could just be for improving your overall quality of life, supporting you in improving your mobility. This is exactly why I wanted to have Jenny on the show, because it's something that we all do anyway. Breathe. Like it's a functional part of being a human being, and learning how to use it as a tool to further ourselves in our everyday lives. Jenny, I want to switch gears slightly. I know that everybody has seen somebody on social media or probably knows somebody at this point that they see doing cold plunges. They'll see people with ice buckets in their backyard just laying in them, and I know that there's folks that have even become influencers on social media by sitting in an ice bath and saying something profound into a camera. What is the actual benefit of the ice bath? And can you explain that a bit more for people so that they understand the connection and why it's exploded in popularity?
Absolutely. I mean, beyond this cool factor, no pun intended, that it looks quite impressive on social media. You're seeing someone go into this icy lake or river, or going into an ice bath with all these ice cubes, blah blah blah. And yeah, as you said, yeah, a lot of influencers nowadays actually are making their whole page all about ice baths, which is, yeah, honestly pretty cool. So in terms of the benefits, there are tons. To put it very simply, and then I'll dive deeper into it. You are releasing happy hormones, so like dopamine, getting a boost of motivation and energy, boost of focus and concentration as well, lowering inflammation, burning more calories. We'll get into brown fat as well. And I would say, more importantly, but it's not necessarily more importantly, it really depends on where you're at on your own journey, but it's this whole idea of stress adaptation, right? So in terms of releasing happy hormones, your dopamine, and you just need to get into water that is 14 degrees Celsius. And I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but with that, you already get a boost of dopamine by 250%, which is
Wow.
freaking massive. And your noradrenaline
That's quite the
will,
word.
yeah, let me try again. Your noradrenaline will get boosted by 530%, which, for those who
Wow.
don't know, noradrenaline is not only an anti-inflammatory, but it is also part of what you'll find for people who have depression and HDAD. That's what you'll find in their meds. So
Wow.
knowing that you can actually boost that yourself by getting in cold water and boost it by 530% is a huge game changer in terms of focus and getting that sensation of wakefulness. When you take a cold shower, or when you get into an ice bath, like, it's impossible not to be present and awake and have this feeling of aliveness, right? I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, yeah, this combination of noradrenaline and dopamine. And then in terms of the stress adaptation, so similarly to how I was explaining with the breath work, right? How we are shifting from sympathetic to parasympathetic. So when we think about the cold is a stressor. Like, there's no doubt about
Right.
that. And we actually, in the Wim Hof method, we exploit what we call hormesis. This is a biochemical response in our body, which all humans have. And it's something that gets triggered. It's this process in the body that gets triggered in the face of short-term acute stress. So you can think about intermittent fasting. You can think about a physical effort like working out.
Mm-hmm.
While we do this, these are like short-term acute stressors we put on the body that helps our body adapt better to all types of stress. Same thing with the Wim Hof method. We also, through the cold and through the breath, exploit this hermetic process. And so with the cold specifically, it's like, just think about it this way. If you can get into an ice bath for, let's say, 2 minutes and be calm before, during, and after, holy shit, you can remain calm and be in this parasympathetic state in any sympathetic / stressful situation. And that's what we're teaching our bodies here. And again, this is all 100% natural. We're not taking anything. We are really just relying on our internal pharmacy to strengthen ourselves. Then also, again, it's a super, super powerful cardiovascular workout to get into the ice. It also strengthens your immune systems, because no, it's not the cold that is getting you sick. Even if your mom is yelling at you that you're not wearing a hat in winter and you forgot your gloves and you need an extra layer and all that stuff, it's actually a weak immune system that gets us sick. And so getting into the cold in this short-term and controlled environment, and especially in a safe environment when you know what you're doing, is going to be hugely beneficial for that. And a big thing that most people miss when they look at a TikTok or reel is that they don't see what happens after the ice bath. And those who truly practice the Wim Hof method know that the real work actually starts after you get out of the ice bath. It's how you're going to warm up from the inside without needing to run into the sauna, without needing to get a bottle of tea and relying on an external source of heat, but actually generating your own heat. And once again, learning to adapt and reteaching your body and having confidence in your body, trusting in your body's abilities to reheat itself gradually. And that takes time and patience and practice and commitment.
And do we accomplish that through additional breath work when we're done with the cold exposure?
We do it through what is called the horse stance. So I don't know if you've seen any, or you've probably, maybe you've seen through like my videos on social media, but it's a Qigong inspired move. And you basically spread your legs apart, you get down very as low as you can, and you basically go left, right, left,
Yeah.
right. And you, with this move, by the way, this move has saved lives. I'm not even kidding you. I emphasize this move so much. It's the first thing that I introduce in all of my workshops because it's that important. And through this move, we are using our two biggest muscles to generate heat, which are our quads and our legs, because you're really getting low. And if within 4 minutes your legs aren't burning, then you got to get lower.
Sure.
And we're also using our intercostal muscles. And then you can also use the breath like and the voice, which will also activate your parasympathetic response. So that's the move that we use. The breath work typically is done before the ice bath or the cold exposure, because it also helps your body prepare for the cold.
Love it. Love it. Jenny, I feel like you've given us a master class in the last half hour on how we can generate healing, how we can generate just a higher quality of being in ourselves through tools that our creator has already equipped us with. I would just love to hear any personal anecdotes you have. How has this work tangibly created a difference in your life or the lives of anyone else you know?
So the Wim Hof method has transformed my life in the most consistent way. Like, one step at a time, little by little. I felt this huge boost of energy and clarity when I first did the breath work back in 2018, and that was like, it was like a slap in the face. It's like that made me fall over. It was like, holy. But then the actual commitment, like doing it every single day, had such small and incremental impact on my life. I notice how much I basically notice what's going on in my body. This method has completely expanded my ability to listen.
Mm.
That's the biggest and most powerful thing that this method this practice has brought me over the years, over these, now almost 6 years of practice. It's my ability to listen to myself and to listen to the whispers of my own body's wisdom. And we are so good at ignoring the signs because our bodies communicate to us every single second of every single day. And yet we love to ignore it and shut it down and rely on external things to soothe our nervous system, whether it's with food, alcohol, social media, any type of entertainment. And actually, we have all the tools within. And if
Mm-hmm.
only we were to listen. And that requires so much commitment and so much courage to actually dare to go there, because sometimes it's our bodies tell us like to rest when we don't want to rest. We just want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, even though we know. And actually, when you met me, you've seen how I used to be. Like, I was in a freaking dark place, just pushing through and pushing through.
Yeah.
With the job that I used to have. Like, I don't know how much you remember from that. I remember being in for context, you and I shared a hotel room with, it was four of us at this Summit of Greatness in 2019. And I was literally in bed with my computer working and like basically telling them like, I'm not gonna like go without me. And like, it was really,
I
really
remember.
late. And I was like this for 2 years, living in chronic anxiety, pushing, forcing through my way through life, forcing my way to achieve things, forcing my way to perform, and to seek this external validation, and simply not listening. And while it might seem like those people on social media where you see them going into ice baths, that they need this physical strength, it's
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes you see like really jacked guys that go into the ice and just like
Yeah.
and like very like
It it
energy, right?
it has become a bit of a hyper masculine thing for sure.
Yeah. And yet, in order to get into the ice, it requires the complete opposite traits, which are to be tapped into our intuition, to let go of the mind and sink into the heart, to trust, to surrender, to let go, to accept what comes, to be completely not attached to any outcome, and to simply breathe and to simply be without needing to do anything. And it's such a different way of leading life, because for me, ice baths are metaphor for life. You don't,
Mm-hmm.
no one does ice baths to get good at ice baths. Like, who gives a, you do ice
Right.
baths to get good at life. It's a metaphor for life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the biggest transformation has been for me in practicing this method over the last 6 years, and really over the last 4 years, that I've really committed and deepened my practice and done the wildest things. It's to basically get back into my heart and open my heart, lead from an open heart, lead from love instead of fear, and to be at peace from within.
Yeah. Jenny, can I jump in real fast?
Yes.
So I just want to acknowledge you just for the transformation I've seen in you from afar. Meeting you back in 2019, y'all, she wasn't like any scrub. Like, this girl was on it. She was the type of person that got results. She was a boss lady. And with that said, the quality of life that you were leading was probably a lot lower than it is now, wouldn't you say? I mean, externally on paper, you were crushing it. You had this really cool job doing this really cool, amazing work with this really interesting startup. And it was draining you, if we're being honest. And just seeing the level of peace that I just see over you all the time, and it even just comes through on Instagram and reels. Like, this is possible for anybody listening through this work. And y'all, Jenny didn't stop being an absolute boss. She just started generating it from within through this work. And so I wanted to acknowledge you for that, Jenny. And for the listeners here, I want to make sure they know how to get in contact with you so that they can explore the Wim Hof method. Also, just connect with you because you're generally a badass. So, what are the best ways for them to get in contact with you, continue the conversation beyond this episode?
Thank you so much for your acknowledgement. Like, yeah, I that was such a tough moment of and phase of my life. So actually, for you to and not many people actually saw the behind the scenes, and so I really thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that and seeing me. I really 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 appreciate it, because it's one thing to actually share it out loud, like, but you actually experienced it and saw me. And so yeah, thank you. So the easiest way to find me is on Instagram, Jenny Quenard. I actually don't have a website yet. It's under construction. I have my link tree that is linked in my Instagram bio. But for now, Instagram will do. That's where I have all of my upcoming retreats and workshops, not only all over Switzerland, but also around Europe. And hopefully I will make it to the US for a US tour and giving out workshops and retreats in 2025. So stay tuned for that.
Yep. Yep. And folks, she is a wealth of knowledge on Wim Hof and other wellness techniques. So please be sure to connect with her, follow her, and you won't regret it, quite frankly. So, folks, before we go ahead and wrap this show, we are going to ask that you share this out with somebody that you know, somebody that you care about, particularly if you got value from today's episode. And I'm confident that you did. We are here to support everybody listening in creating the best possible lives for themselves. And cost of admission is free. So, like, if you can do your
Boom.
part in just sharing this out with one person, you will have paid the cost of admission. Jenny, the final thing I'm going to ask you, this is something I ask everybody. What are you acknowledging yourself for today?
Today, I am acknowledging myself for my courage, to lean into the fears of making one of the actually biggest transition of my life, and going all in and trusting myself and continuing to listen to the whispers of my heart and body's wisdom.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? The world is a better place because you did. And so thank you on behalf of myself, the listeners, and everybody that I know that you're going to continue to impact, and all of the ripple effects that that is going to have moving forward. So thank you for being here today, Jenny. folks, this has been another episode of Your Inside Track to Success. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We will be back with another amazing guest or message. We'll see you soon.